What's good, fellow outcasts and other rejects? Welcome to WTC, the Anime Outcast. First off, if you are new here, we upload anime what-ifs based around My Hero and other shows alike. Secondly, did you know 80% of our audience isn't subscribed? So in order for us to continue to make good content, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Now without further ado, let's get into the video. When we had last left off, Izuku was led to Hosu City by his estranged Hibiki form, with Bakugo following along. The two took on the elusive hero killer, coming out of the encounter alive thanks to Izuku, using his overdrive form to bond with Ida. We pick up with the story immediately to where we ended it last time. Endeavor stands among the three students in disbelief that they, of all people, could take it down such a foe. But the Mechamorph has no time for skepticism, as he urges the number 2 hero to help them rush Ida to the hospital or something. Without batting an eye, the hero pushes away the slime creature and starts barking orders. "Alright, you and that other boy make a break for the city streets. There are other heroes following me here. I'm sure one of them could provide better medical support than me. I'll deal with the villain and this poor excuse of a pro," he explains, moving past the students to tend with Stain and the native. With that, Izuku goes blitzing out of the alleyway, his peers flying alongside him. The maze-like alleyways of Hosu made it hard for the two to navigate their way out of the city streets. Any wrong turn could risk it all because of the lost time. But Izuku wouldn't be able to make it out of the system while bonded to Ida, as he hears the dreaded beeping from the watch. And just like that, he's ripped off the injured hero, skidding across the concrete. Ida, on the other hand, limply crashes into a dumpster. Both boys panic while assessing what happened. Thankfully, Izuku had partly repaired his hero costume while bonded to him, though it did cushion the impact a bit. Then, Bakugo takes on the burden of carrying the speedster. He hoists the other boy over his back and takes him to the sky. Even though Ida's weight slows him down significantly, his explosions would still be faster. Way to go, get out of there. This leaves Izuku to hobble his way out of there at his own pace. His fight with Stain had not only burnt him out of wounded as well. The villain had lodged a throwing knife into his right shoulder, and it's starting to take a toll on him. He finally makes it out to the open street after what felt like a painful eternity. About a dozen pro heroes are there to greet him once he emerges. The same ones he saw in the fight with the Nomu creature. Then, he notices another Nomu lying on the ground, lifeless. But this one is nothing like the two hulking monsters he's previously seen. For one, this creature has a much slender build, and a gas mask-like attachment grappled in its jaw. It also has a pair of wings, not unlike a childhood friend Izuku. "Now, what do you have to say for yourself, Midoriya?" a voice calls out before he could finish examining the Nomu. Then his glows begin to tighten as a strange force starts pushing him somewhere else. He's brought to a nearby ambulance where Best Jeanist stands. The denim-clad hero repeats himself while tightening his grip on the boy, terrifying him. "Same reason as me. 4 I sent out an emergency message out saying he's in danger, and Deku answered it," Bakugo booms as he barges his way out of the back of the truck. 2 paramedics try to hold him back, but they simply can't. "Now why would he call you two instead of the heroes, or even emergency services?" Best Jeanist rightfully retorts. This only angers Bakugo as he resorts to what he knows best, hurling insults. Izuku remains silent to the dismay of the hero. He goes to scold the both of them for being dishonest until he notices the blade plunge into Midoriya's shoulder. So he then loosens his grip and ushers him into the ambulance. From here, we skip forward to the following day. Izuku and Bakugo lay in beds of a solemn hospital room. Both stay quiet as they have too much on their minds. For Bakugo, he wallows in self-hatred for not finishing off the hero killer on his own. Sure, he could have unloaded numerous volatile explosions, but that would have only served to cause more harm to the people around him. This may seem a tad out of character for him, as he's not known for caring for others, but he's not stupid. All that damage could come back and bite him in the ass later. As for Izuku, he had a lot more rushing through his head, from Hibiki again to if Ida was going to make it out of the hospital. The silence is then broken as Best Jeanist, Endeavor, and the police chief enter the room. Kenji, the officer in question, then starts berating the two students for their actions, similar to in canon. But unlike the main series, Bakugo is the one to go against the chief as he explains hero laws to them. As he starts yelling at the canine, he switches his rage over to the denim-clad hero. Ever since the start of this shitty internship, you've been babbling about if I know the difference between a hero and a villain. Well, now I do! Bakugo roars out, gaining the curious eye of the number 2 hero. Endeavor had mainly been quiet during this event. He's only here due to legal obligation. It's simple. Heroes get the job done no matter what. Being fighting villains or saving useless citizens. If you thought I wasn't going to use my quirk to fight someone scum like Stain, then you aren't really worth my time. He then finishes, the raging passion behind each word. Though he would never admit it, Bakugo did get a lot out of the internship. More than his canon version, at least. Well, I respect you for taking my speech to heart. Now isn't the time, Genus explains while pointing to the police chief, who talks about Endeavor taking responsibility for capturing Stain. This relieves the two interns somewhat, but they would still have to contend with Best Genus, who still wants answers. Though he doesn't get the one he wants, as both boys still stay true to Bakugo's cover story. Once both boys recover, they return to their agency and resume the internship, but with not much time left. Though they go back to UA with a lot of valuable lessons. However, Ida wouldn't make it to the first day, still being in the hospital with his condition being unknown. But the story must go on, and we must move to the class's first hero training after the internship. All Might has them gather in the Ground Gamma obstacle course for a race. When it comes time for Izuku to go against his classmate, he has a somewhat conflicted thought process. He could either go Alpha X or Slime Sect, both offering their own advantages and disadvantages. Alpha X would be faster of the two, but he would struggle to reach his top speed against the course's narrow and winding pathways. As for Slime Sect, he needn't worry about the ground obstacles, but his speed would be lackluster. Then, he starts thinking about Genus' main lesson. Maybe he's thinking too cutthroat for this. Surely enough, by using that mindset, he thinks of a transformation that could offer him with the best of both worlds. Once the symbol commences the race, Izuku goes straight into his Bulbamancer form, Taru Inu. With his unique way of seeing and enhanced strength, Deku starts pouncing his way through the course. Obviously, this is a bizarre choice for this situation, but there's sound reasoning behind it. As stated before, Taru Inu's echolocation-like vision gives him an edge. It allows him to get a large scope of the area, giving him near 360 vision. Also mentioned before is his strength. This will enable him to circumvent most things in his path while maintaining a good pace. With that all said and done, Izuku manages to get to All Might, just barely ahead of Sero. From here, weeks pass without Ida returning to UA. Deku tries to convince himself that he's just taking a long time to recover, or he's taking time off to help his mental health. But yet, he couldn't get in contact with him. But some sort of closure would come. During a random day, Aizawa would enter the class with a wheelchair-bound man following behind him. He introduces himself as Tensei Ida to the class, causing Deku's heart to skip a beat. He knows what's coming. The former hero then starts a speech, saying Ida had told him a lot about the class and how much potential they had as heroes. But he quickly trails off like something is holding him from speaking. Then, after a few seconds of gut-wrenching silence, he forces himself to talk. Tenya, he had a run-in with the hero killer. Same one who put me in this chair, he mutters somberly, causing the class to panic, many of them calling out and asking if he was okay. He didn't make it. He was on life support for a long time, but he succumbed to his injuries, Tensei explains, prompting the class to go still. No one knows how to react to being told one of your classmates were brutally murdered in cold blood by a prolific maniac. The two boys who are at the scene handle the news in two very different ways. Izuku puts his head on the desk and huddles within his arms while bawling his eyes out. He couldn't bear the thought that he wasn't good enough to save his friend. Bakugo clutches his desk furiously, trying to hold himself from going ballistic and destroying everything. His first ever time facing a villain outside of school, and he failed. The students would be given time to take in that information, while Aizawa would talk to Tensei. Izuku approaches the two and asks if he could speak with Ida's older brother outside, to which he obliges. I'm so sorry. I wish I could have done more, he nervously mutters while bowing to the grieving brother, but this catches Tensei as strange, asking what he meant by done more. Oh, I mean as in talked him out of it or something. I knew he was going through a rough time, but I couldn't get through to him, Izuku explains, trying to cover for his slip-up. What he really meant was to do more when he was actually there with Ida and Hosu. But Tensei gets the suspicion there's more to it than it seemed, especially how he tightened his fist while explaining to himself. Hey, wait a minute. You're Midoriya, right? Tenya spoke very highly of you, the former speedster exclaims, noticing the watch bounded to the boy. But that remark only serves to make the pain worse for Izuku. Then, Tensei tells Aizawa they're going to somewhere quieter to continue their talk. They move to the UA courtyard, where they wouldn't be bothered by others. Look, I've dealt with enough sidekicks to know when they're withholding information from me. There's something you aren't telling me, isn't there? Tensei bluntly asks, panicking Izuku to force him to come clean. He tells him everything in his head, bowed, except the rogue form, of course. But he expects to be berated by the hero for not being good enough. Stop being so hard on yourself. You're just a kid, Tensei explains with a slight smile. But I was there. I wasn't good enough. I could have saved him. I didn't save him, Midoriya then explains back, defeated and confused. Tensei had nothing against Izuku for his actions. No one had asked him to save Tenya, yet he tried his best. At least he didn't die alone in that alleyway because of him. This does ease some of the wound for Izuku, but the pain is still very much lingering. Thanks again to the Outcasts and Rejects for watching to the end of the video. If this video gets 80 likes in 2 weeks, we'll continue this series. Other than that, if you have any questions about the series or our channel, sound off in the comments or feel free to join our Discord. Also, if you'd like to hear more about me, my Discord should be in the description below. Thank you.